Good evening and welcome to another episode of On the Sofa. I'm Monja and I work in our Edinburgh shop, and joining me tonight is Susan.
Hello, hi, good evening. Hope you're well. So tonight we are delving into the history behind the name Anderson as we celebrate it as our November clan of the month. So Anderson is a surname derived from the patronymic meanings son of Ander or Andrew, which itself is derived from the Greek name Andreas, meaning man or manly. It originated in both the British Isles and the Nordic countries around about the same time. Clan Anderson, unlike many of the other clans, does not have a fantastic backstory involving epic battles or curious beasts. The clan, as a single entity in a single location, does not seem to exist, which could be for several reasons. The main one being the origin of the name, whereby it could appear at different locations as son or follower of Andrew. Other reasons for the spread could also be down to the area in which a family lived. If that specific area or land were not fertile enough to farm on, individuals would have most likely set out with their families to find new pastures.
Very interesting. So the earliest recorded mention of an early iteration of the name actually seems to be in the 13th century, so quite an old one. In 1296, David Le Fitzandrew of Peebles and Duncan Fitzandrew of Dumfries both took an oath of fealty to Edward I of England during the Wars of Independence. So the names Anderson and MacAndrew have actually existed for hundreds of years across Scotland. So as Susan just said, there is no official clan territory just because they've existed for so long and in so many locations. However, there have been some details in the Kinrara manuscript claiming that the MacAndrews came to Badenoch from Moydart in around 1400. The largest group of Andersons historically have been found in Aberdeenshire, in the northeast of Scotland, and particularly in Aberdeen, Elgin and Banff. So there might actually be some truth in this claim that that's where they came from.
There are also records of landowning Anderson families in the Borders, Ayrshire, Renfrewshire, the Lothians, Fife and Angus, lots of places, and Angus, as well as further north in the Black Isle and even in Orkney and Shetland. So as we said before, quite a sort of widespread. There have always been both Andersons and MacAndrews in and around Inverness and also the Moray coast.
So the Scandinavian forms Anderson and Andersen were often rendered as Anderson, as we know it today, by immigrants to the English-speaking countries, whereby the latter became one of the more common surnames in Anglophone North America. The name was the 11th most common surname reported in the 1990 United States Census, which accounted for 0.3% of the population. And then it was the 12th most common surname in the 2000 US Census. And Anderson is actually one of the more popular surnames in Canada. So it seems that the Andersons have spread quite far and wide over the years.
They have, yes. So Clan Anderson is an armigerous clan. So if a clan is armigerous, it means that the clan family or name is registered with the court of Lord Lion, but doesn't currently have a chief that is recognised by the Lion Court. So the Lion Court regulated heraldry in Scotland and keeps records of the genealogy and the register of grants of arms. So some members of the clan are armigers, meaning that they have the right to bear arms. They're sometimes called armigerous gentlemen of the clan. And in the absence of a clan chief, it would fall on these representatives to settle any issues relating to the clan. So hopefully not too many issues though.
Wow. Clan issues. So it's unclear whether the Andersons have ever had a clan chief. And records are few and far between, although there is a mention of an Anderson of that ilk, which means Anderson of Anderson, or chief of that name. And that was in a mid-16th century manuscript called the Workman Manuscript. And this document included depictions of coats of arms, of prominent contemporary Scots, including one ascribed to Anderson of that ilk. This suggests that the coat of arms belonged to someone who'd been recognised as a chief of the Anderson clan, but there are no records of the actual name of the supposed chief, so we're not sure. So no family has been identified, so there's no record of a succession either. At roughly the same time, there were records of an officer of arms, Carrick Pursuivant, named James Anderson of Sterhuch, and it could be presumed that he was also the Anderson of that ilk. However, the claim has never been substantiated. It can't definitively be said, therefore, that the clan did have a chief at this time, as there isn't enough factual evidence. And who knows, perhaps in time more records will be found, and the Andersons will no longer be without a clan chief, like we found out about Clan Buchanan last month.
Yes. So you never know.
Never know. And hello to Luke Smith, who says, hello, thank you for joining us tonight,
Hi.
Luke, to learn all about Clan Anderson.
Okay. So we're moving on to the Anderson clan motto, which is stand sure. And we've actually got it. We're going to hold up. Oh, hang on. We'll wait just now. I was going to say we're going to hold up. We've got a nice...
I think Emily's got one on the screen, but if I can try
so we're going at the same time.
There we go.
On our water bottle as well. So this can be found on the clan crest along with an oak tree. Both the motto and the emblem seem to have been taken from Andersons of the North Strathbogie, who were an influential family. Their crest and motto have been accepted as that of the whole clan. An oak tree carving can also be found in the entrance porch of Strathdon Church in Aberdeenshire, an estate which was held by the Andersons and Candacraig for 10 generations.
Very long time.
Yeah.
So the Anderson tartan next. So they've got a couple, and it's quite unique in that it contains 7 different colours, whereas most clans only have 6 or less, and some even have as few as 2. So the Anderson tartan contains light blue, red, black, yellow, white, green, and navy. So it's a very eye-catching tartan. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted. You can see on our mannequin here, she's got her nice pair of trousers and a matching scarf as well. The design is so intricate that it actually needs to be woven on a special loom. So Susan has got the ancient variation there, so you can see just how intricate it is and how many colours are involved.
Yeah.
So the Anderson Ancient comes in more muted colours, thanks to the animal and vegetable dyes that were used prior to 1860, which is what the Ancient tartan's based on. The Anderson Weather tartan uses the same colour palette, but with wind, rain and sun-beaten effect. Though mostly rain, as we are in Scotland after all. So it's the most likely option of the weathered. It's possible that this version of the tartan most closely resembles what the Anderson forefathers would have worn hundreds of years ago. And finally, we have the Anderson of our break tartan, which again Susan's got a swatch of there, and you can see it on the screen. And it has a lovely red base, which is in real contrast to the other tartans. So
nice and colourful.
Anderson, you've got that nice option of blue or red base. Spoiled.
Spoiled for choice. Okay, so we're going back a wee bit, back to the meaning of the name Anderson, which was son of Andrew. So we thought now would be a good time to remind you that very soon, on the 30th of November, we will be celebrating St Andrew's Day. Yippee! Okay, there he is. St Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland, not only Scotland, Romania, Greece, Russia, Ukraine, and Poland. There we go.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales all have their own patron saint to whom they dedicate a day. So we've got the 30th of November. It's believed that St Andrew was born between the years 5 AD and 10 AD in a place that is now part of Israel.
So according to Christianity, he went on to become one of the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ. The disciples were 12 people chosen by Jesus to closely follow him, and Andrew's brother Simon Peter was actually also one of the disciples. They both lived in Galilee, where they were fishermen. Funnily enough, St Andrew never actually stepped foot in Scotland his whole life, which I found quite odd considering he is our patron saint, but there you go.
There we go. I didn't know that. Okay, so there's actually, we had a bit of research, and there's no clear tale as to why St Andrew became the patron saint, especially if he didn't actually even come and visit. Anyway, one story says that in the 9th century, King Angus in Scotland was preparing for a battle against the English. St Andrew appeared to King Angus in a dream, promising him victory, and on the day of the battle, a cross symbol would appear in the sky, which was a symbol of St Andrew. He vowed that if they won, St Andrew would be made the patron saint of Scotland, and that is pretty much what happened. Exactly what happened.
There we go.
So this is why the Scottish flag has the X shaped cross on it, as it's the symbol for St Andrew.
There we go. Scot mythology, however, claims that the story of how St Andrew became our patron saint goes back a lot further than that. And the story says that Scottish people are actually descended from an ancient population called the Scythians, who lived on the Black Sea, which is now Romania and Bulgaria, who St Andrew is believed to have converted to Christianity. St Andrew was officially named the patron saint of Scotland in 1320, though, and there are St Andrew societies all over the world, which mark the occasion in many different ways. So some might mark it by going to a special type of party called a ceilidh, where they do Scottish country dancing, and I think that's one of my favourite sort of Scottish traditions. So
ceilidh dancing.
Yeah, I'd highly
definitely
recommend a ceilidh
Yes.
if you've never been to one. Hello to Kay joining us. Nice to see you here, Kay.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, so in 2006, the Scottish Parliament actually passed the St Andrew's Day Bank Holiday Act, which designated the day as an official bank holiday. Isn't that nice? So students and also students at the University of St Andrews are given the day off too, which we think is only right given that it was one of St Andrews' final resting places.
Makes sense. So in Amalfi, there are also relics of the saint, and his statue is actually carried from the cathedral in a procession through the streets on the 30th of November. So it's nice that he is celebrated all over the world.
Yeah, not just here.
Yeah, exactly. I learned that when we were studying about Clan Anderson. Didn't know any of that.
Some new things learned.
Exactly. So now we've got some of Clan Anderson's famous faces, some of the more famous members of the clan.
Who you may well recognise. So first, born in Chicago in 1968, actress Gillian Anderson is most famous for her role as FBI agent Dana Scully in The X-Files, which she starred in from the age of 24, which is... It seems like it wasn't that long ago, but maybe that's just a sign of my age. The science fiction TV show ran for 9 seasons, during which time she won lots of awards, an Emmy Award, a Golden Globe, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and a Saturn Award. So she's the first actress to ever win an Emmy, a Golden Globe, a Screen Actors Guild Award in the same year. So quite an achievement.
Very impressive.
I know, very good.
Wes Anderson, who's another American. He was born in Houston, Texas in 1969, and he is a film director, and he's best known for his kooky and quirky films such as The Royal Tenenbaums, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Fantastic Mr. Fox, which are all filmed in a distinctive style, making use of symmetrical imagery, a small colour palette, and highly stylized settings. He's been nominated for many awards, just like his fellow Anderson member, Gillian Anderson. And he was the winner of both a BAFTA and a Golden Globe Award for The Grand Budapest Hotel in 2014. And I'm not surprised, it's a very good film.
It's a great film.
Highly recommend it if you've not seen it.
If you've not seen it, you should. It's good. Okay, so Marianne Anderson was born in Philadelphia in 1897 and was a contralto who performed a range of music, including classical and spiritual. She was a key figure in the fight for equality for African American artists during the mid-20th century. And in 1939, she performed an open-air concert on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. After she was denied permission to sing at Constitution Hall under a white performers only clause. In 1955, Anderson was the first African American singer to perform with the Metropolitan Orchestra in New York.
Got a lot of impressive Andersons.
I know, indeed.
So next up we have Clive Anderson, and he is an English comedian and former barrister, best known for his work on the long-running TV show Whose Line Is It Anyway? I actually saw him live during the Edinburgh Fringe. Yeah, I saw that. It was very good, very funny. So he hosted the comedy improvisation show, which began as a radio programme before successfully transitioning to television for 10 seasons from 1988 to 1999. The show won a BAFTA award in 1990, and Anderson won awards for Top Entertainment Presenter and Top Radio Comedy Personality at the British Comedy Awards in 1991. So again, lots of awards in the clan.
Yeah.
For one of the smaller clans, you're very well established. So Amy in our marketing team also has an interview with Gary Anderson, who's world darts champion, and that'll be going up on the Tartan blog next week. So keep an eye out if you're a darts fan.
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting. So that's all from us with Clan Anderson, and we do have a few questions to answer.
Yeah. So first question that we've got so that we've been asked is what is the meaning of the colours on the Anderson tartan?
So a lot of people like to imagine that there is a codified symbol of colour symbolism in tartans, where you can say things like red means courage or white means purity. But the reality is that there's not actually any codified system at all. Although it doesn't stop people from trying to make one. So if that's how you want to see the Anderson tartans, then please feel free. But when speaking of the use of tartan historically, we can draw some conclusions from colour, but nothing like the symbolism that many imagine. For instance, red was a very expensive colour to obtain with natural dyes. So somebody wearing tartan with a lot of red in it is more likely to be quite wealthy, traditionally anyway. Which is why the Queen's tartan is Stuart Royal and is mostly red.
Very red, yes, very red.
One may also wear a bright coloured tartan in an attempt to show off your status. Whereas a dark earth tone tartan might be chosen to blend in with the environment by someone on the hunt, which is where your hunting variations come in. Yeah. Quite often replace a colour with a dark green or a brown.
Stay camouflaged.
Exactly. And our next question is, how should I celebrate St. Andrew's Day? Which of course is a tricky one this year.
Yes, it is. I suppose you could do some zooming. You could zoom with some friends and things. But yeah, I mean, traditionally, as we mentioned before, you would go to a ceilidh, which, as we said, is also, if you haven't done one, hopefully when we're allowed to do these things, highly recommend. You could have a traditional Scottish meal, and of course, wear tartan. Yeah,
absolutely.
Why wouldn't
and of course, you could wear the St. Andrew, Earl of St. Andrew tartan.
Yeah, that'd be very fitting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's a nice blue and white tartan, so quite subtle if you're just stepping into tartan. It's quite a nice
if you're a bit
one.
scared, if you're a bit timid about it. Yeah.
Have a little try with the Earl of St. Andrews until you get hooked and you go for the brighter ones.
Go brighter. Yeah, and then also actually next week, so while on the subject of we're talking about St. Andrew's Day, we actually have a very special guest joining us for our next On the Sofa, which we're going to focus on St. Andrew's Day food, so and St. Andrew's Day in more depth. So do join us, because that's going to be a good one, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so next week we have Adele from the Tartan Spoon blog, like Susan said. So Adele tells us a little bit more about traditional foods eaten on St. Andrew's Day, lots of ideas, and you're sure to go away feeling quite hungry, I think. And more just about Scottish foods in general and what's in season this time of year. Get you some seasonal ideas for your table.
Was there a mention of the deep fried Mars bar?
There may have been a deep fried Mars bar mentioned.
Okay, that's all we'll say for now.
I mean, we're talking traditional Scottish food, so it had to be in there somewhere, didn't it? So thank you so much for joining us this week. If you've got any other questions or stories, please do share them with us. We love to hear from you. And just comment below, or you can send us a wee email as well if you've got an Anderson story or any other questions. Please do send us that.
Please do.